To delay or not to delay? That's the question facing publishers each year as they weigh the benefits of launching in that highly competitive, highly lucrative launch window in the holidays, or pushing back in the name of quality. And I think the past several months have given us some interesting lessons, both in terms of wildly varying outcomes for different games, but also in regards to the audience's perception of what a delay means. My name is Matt Bertz. I'm the Vice President of Games here at Magid, and today I'm joined by our VP of BizDev, Richard Dillio. Richard, let's talk a little bit about this. What have we seen in the past several months?
So we actually just did some research on this. As part of a larger survey, we asked some questions about basically gamers' tolerance for delays, and in particular, those who had pre-ordered a game, the thinking being that those folks had stakes in what was about to come out. And 81% of them were actually okay with delays. We kind of know this because as gamers, like as people who play a lot of games, we understand being willing to tolerate a delay if the end result is a good game. And that seems to be the most important thing here. If you look at some of the scores and the way that some of these games that we've listed have been received, the games that chose to delay, even a short delay of a few months, seem to have done better than those that sort of pushed forward to meet their actual stated release dates.
Yeah, I would actually argue that it pays to delay because you only have one launch, right? And that's when you have the gaze of the industry on you. All the reviewers are paying attention, the streamers, the content creators, and the players who pre-ordered, particularly, your chorus of core fans. When you launch, when you're in a troubled state, the discourse goes in a very negative direction, and it can be really hard to rebound from that. Battlefield 2042 in particular had a really rough launch this past year, launching with an array of technical problems and missing like table stakes features like voice chat, and that's caused a cascade of problems. It maims your post-launch content roadmap. A $70 title ends up in the $4.99 bargain bin months after launch, and it does serious damage to your reputation, at least in the short term. That's not insurmountable. We've seen even EA and DICE in particular rebound with Battlefront 2 and previous Battlefield titles. So it's not the end of the road for a title, but you're just putting yourself at a serious disadvantage when you're competing against not only the other games coming out in that window, but the games that people play every day. The consistent service titles like a Warzone or a Valorant, or you know what I mean.
And at some point, you have to ask, why do that to yourself? To save what, 2 or 3 months, or maybe longer. So one of the titles that's on our list here, famously Elden Ring, which has done very well, was actually delayed. And for whatever, maybe they just got lucky here, but they ended up actually releasing the game in that classic From Software window of February, March, which sort of they own now at this point. So their delay actually worked out very well for them. And if you go back and read some of the comments about why they delayed, they said, look, the game was a lot more complicated than we had anticipated, taking our formula and dropping it into an open world. So we needed some time to deal with that extra complexity that we learned from the network test. Great idea. It worked very well for them. Same thing with Horizon Forbidden West. A slight delay, not long, a couple months, seems to have worked out for them. And one of the things that we also learned in the research is, to your point, a bad launch is not instant death. But and gamers are sort of forgiving if you can show them you've got a roadmap to fix what the problems are. But why do that to yourself? And there seems to be no benefit other than, and of course we all understand this, you've got other stakeholders that you have to satisfy, including shareholders and stuff. And you have board meetings and things that you have to be ready for when you're talking about games that are going to get released. But you're not doing your shareholders any favors either by releasing a game that's kind of busted, because you're going to pay for it. Like, you'll either pay then or you'll pay later, but it seems like you're going to pay for it. So gamers can actually be quite forgiving if you can promise them a good experience and actually deliver on it.
I agree. I think it pays to delay, and the consumers are comfortable with companies pushing back. We don't need a Duke Nukem Forever, Infinity situation, but take the time to make it good and make it what the fans are expecting.
Right. And you know, when you talk about these big studios like EA, I don't think the concern is, oh God, this title is vaporware. It's obviously coming out. It's just a matter of, is it coming out in 3 months or should they delay it to 6? And you know, there's apparently there's a very good conversation to be had about that, because gamers seem to be tolerant of delays if it means they're going to get a better game at the end of it. And keep in mind, these numbers that we have here are for those who pre-ordered. So these are people who've already sort of invested in the game and they're still willing to wait. So you might even extrapolate from that. People who haven't pre-ordered are maybe even more forgiving, because
Yeah.
it's a game that they're not necessarily, you know, waiting for it to come out anyway. So as
And
you
there's
say, it
certainly,
seems to be a pay is to delay. It seems to be
yeah,
happening.
and they're certainly going to be more interested in joining the party if the title has good buzz around it and not,
Right.
you know, a chorus of negativity. So yeah, I think that's really a smart takeaway for, you know, as these companies face these conversations, you know, with other titles in the future. You know, you need to really take a look at this and understand consumers are willing to wait. They want quality. They don't, the time frame does not matter nearly as much as you might think it does. All right, well, thanks for joining us today.